Hello everyone, welcome back to House Canine Services. I'm owner and founder Travis Howe, and today we're going to have a little bit of classroom lecture. Today's topic is going to be on the order of learning for humans compared to dogs. It's a little different than what most people think. This order of learning is what leads to confusion when it comes to teaching our dogs what it is we want from them or do not want from them, because a lot of people think like a human, which is normal, but they don't think like a dog when it comes to trying to talk to the dog. So we're going to talk about the difference in learning on that. So we're going to start from the bottom foundation and work our way up in terms of what are the primary senses in the way that the organism learns. So let's start with dogs first. Actually, no, let's start with humans first because we're easy. For humans, there is a foundation to this pyramid that is universal to us. It's also universal to dogs. It's universal to all mammals. All mammals, straight from Mama's factory, come pre-installed with this foundation right here. This is the brick and mortar of all learning. Some people may not. Sorry about that. Dropped my marker cap. Getting back on track. This is the foundational mortar for all learning. Some people may not like the truth of this, but it is what it is, and it is the truth. This foundational level of learning for all mammals is pain. Pain from the nerve endings that go throughout your entire body. The sense of touch, specifically the need to survive. All mammals are going to be born with this innate instinctual drive to avoid pain and make it stop. Now, that doesn't mean that pain is the primary teaching, primary learning. Not that. Not saying that this should be what all learning is built off of. Not saying that at all. But this is something that is there. That's not what we use as the primary teaching method for training dogs. It's not what we use as the primary training method for teaching humans. It's there in all of us, in all mammals, but this is not the primary route. But it's something that we just need to be aware of. Let's get it. So let's just block this section off. So it's there, we're aware of it, it'll come into play in life, we will all experience it, and we will learn from it. But let's talk about from just a purely educational perspective, because we want to work with what the animal is going to primarily learn with. So we're going to start with humans. Once you get past the foundation, the first block in the pyramid for humans is vision. We are very sight-oriented. If you disagree with that, I encourage you to spend some time around individuals who are blind and see how differently they have to interact with the world, because everything around us is built on vision, on our sight. Humans are very sight-oriented. The next important sense for us is hearing. After our sight comes our hearing. We will experience the world with our eyes first and then our ears second. When it comes to teaching children, language is so important and so critical because we are able to see what we write, hear what we say, and with just those two senses, you can teach somebody something entirely new and then show them the entire world. We are going to see stuff, and then our ears are turned on to visually hear stuff. Like I can see the traffic moving on the interstate. Even from my peripheral vision, I can see that. I can hear the traffic on the interstate. I can't smell the traffic on the interstate. I can't taste it. I can't touch it. But those two senses for a human are always turned on in that order. Our vision's going to be the number one. We are very good at picking out movement. Our second most important sense for learning is going to be our hearing, followed third by our sense of touch. We're very tactile as humans. We like to use our hands for grabbing things, feeling things. If you ever spend any time around children, you'll know that they grab everything. And then what do? They go into their fourth sense, and that is taste, which is closely tied to smell. They put it in their mouth. And never fails. You give them something new, they're going to see it, they're going to look at it. If it's making sounds, it's going to catch their attention. They're going to reach out, they're going to start to feel it, start to touch it, and then they're going to try to eat it. That's just babies. So with humans, our order of senses, from the most to the least, would be sight, hearing, touch, and then taste/smell. Your taste and your smell are very closely tied together. If you had COVID during the pandemic, one of the things, the symptoms was loss of taste and smell. When you lose the ability to smell, it affects your ability to taste things as well. They're very closely tied together. So for a human, our number one priority is going to be sight, hearing, and then third is touch. Now, let's move over to dogs and what their priority of learning is. So when it comes to dogs, we're going to focus on the top three. Those are going to be the three top senses that you're able to most effectively communicate with your dog. And we're going to do it in the order that is the priority to them, not to us. Humans, sight is number one. With dogs, it's a different story. The number one sense for dogs is right there. Smell. Star this, give it an asterisk, whatever you want. That is the number one way that a dog experiences the world. When a puppy is born, their nose is turned on immediately. That is what they're using whenever they're smelling mama and saying, hey, this is my mom, these are my brothers and sisters, this is the smell of my family. Smell is the number one sense for a dog. Humans, sight. Our sense of smell is way down here at the bottom. We can smell things better than what most people actually think we can, but not nearly, nowhere close to what a dog can. That is the number one way that they experience the world. So when we're teaching a dog something new, we need to start off by engaging their sense of smell. That's the number one. It's the same as if I wanted to teach you how to play a game of tic-tac-toe, for example. I'm going to draw the board, make a mark, point to you, point toward the board, and then you're going to get the gist of, okay, my turn to make a mark. Dogs, you need to engage the smell. How can I teach you tic-tac-toe if you are smell-driven? It's not going to be a very effective way of communication if I'm up here making lines while you're over here trying to smell the whole world, or something comes by and it's a smell and it's a distraction. So we need to engage the nose. It's going to be the number one way to communicate with their dog. We do that with treats and food. Some people have this misbelief that you shouldn't be training your dog with treats. Completely unfounded, completely incorrect. You do not want to rely on treats as a crutch, but when it comes to learning, this is your dog's largest foundational sense. Why would you not use food as the motivator and the lure for the dog to follow to lead them into the action you want and then reward them? This is the primary way they learn. To train dogs without treats is just ridiculous in my opinion. It should be the number one way for teaching animals for teaching dogs, is using their nose. Yes, they have this foundational learning from the nerve endings. Yes, you can use discomfort to communicate with a dog, but that's not the primary sense of learning. We experience the world constantly through this foundation, constantly. You can feel when it's hot, you can feel when it's cold, something hurts, something scraped me, something's poking me. This is turned on all the time, constantly. It never shuts off. Your nerve endings never take a day off, they never take a nap. They are on constantly. Because of that, it gets diluted. We don't think of things or notice things until it starts pinging in this realm. The temperature. We are going to forget and notice about the temperature until it gets cold or until it gets hot. We're not going to notice the feel of the chair beneath us until we go to move and there's a splinter sticking up off the chair and it jabs us in the leg. Now suddenly we become aware of, oh, we're touching that chair. This gets diluted. So this is not the best method for teaching. The best method for teaching a dog is right there, the sense of smell. Now, let's move into what comes next for a dog. The next level for dogs is vision. They're very sight-oriented. They are very good at detecting movement. They're predators. No wonder. It is easy for animals to hide from predators by not moving because predators have very good vision for detecting movement. Just like humans, we are predators. It doesn't matter what anybody says. We're not going down that rabbit hole. But we are predator designed, and just like us, our eyes are most adept at detecting movement. The secondary level for the dog learning is going to be through their sight. The third level that they're going to learn in is their hearing. The order for the dog goes nose, eyes, ears. A lot of times when a dog gets engaged in something, the handler will say a command and the dog may ignore that. And a lot of people want to just chalk that up to, oh, the dog is just disobedient. Oh, the dog, I hear this one a lot. The dog is dominant and doesn't want to listen to the owner. We're going to get into different topics about that. But what people fail to really grasp and understand is hearing is the third sense in the priority of learning for the dog. What can happen is when the dog has that nose turned on, engaged in something, and then there's some visionary aspects going on, we're triggering some prey drive, some animalistic urges. What can happen is actually this can turn off. Auditory exclusion. Though this is the third, it is above touch and taste, but it's not the primary and it's not the secondary. These can become so strong that your dog can not even effectively hear you. Yeah, I may say a command. It may create vibrations and airwaves that reach the dog, but the dog may not be listening. Wives, you can attest to this one with your husbands. We'll be in the middle of doing something. We're eyes engaged because we're sight driven. We're very tactile, very touch based. We're into something. Even though hearing's number 2 on our list, you may say something to us and we just go right over top of our head because auditory exclusion. We were engaged in something. The same thing can happen with dogs, but just because it can happen, that doesn't mean that we need to forget about it. It is number 3 in the hierarchy for the senses that are important to a dog. So just to recap, with humans, from our most effective sense to our least effective sense, our learning is going to be sight, hearing, touch. Whereas with dogs, it is going to be smell, sight, hearing, then touch and taste. So when we're working with our dogs, we want to spend a lot of time working in the primary sense for teaching them something new. This is why using food to lure is so effective and so powerful, because it's the number 1 way to engage with the dog. This is the way that they experience the world. Smell for them is the same as us going to a big city for the first time and looking at all the lights, all the people, all the architecture, the cool cars going by, and then hearing the music down the street. For humans, those are our 2 primary. For dogs, they're 2 primary. So we really need to be working in this order. When it comes to teaching a dog a command, some people think that teaching a dog a hand signal for a command is the higher level of learning. That's actually not true. That's the secondary level of learning. So for example, let's give a command that you can understand with that. For example, let's use the sit command. The most effective way to teach the sit command is 1, starting with the nose, 2, moving on to the eyes, and then 3, finishing out with the ears. This is the order in which you're going to teach sit as you move up the chain of learning. So for nose, what do I mean by that? I mean a food lure. We're going to take that treat. It could be their kibble. I've trained my dog using just her kibble. You can use some treats. We're going to do a different video where we kind of dive into what to use and how often to use it. But you're going to start with some kind of food lure where right in front of the nose, get them going, oh, hey, there's food. We move our hand up over the dog's head just a bit, kind of coming backwards a bit, so that way when the nose follows and the head comes up, the butt goes down, and boom, we have a sit. Then we give the dog the reward. Over time, from following that same motion with that same hand motion, the dog is going to begin to learn that this hand motion means you want my butt to go down, and when my butt goes down, I get the treat. So what they start to do is they start to anticipate that hand movement for meaning sit. So now the eyes are engaged with that anticipation. And this is the important part. From pattern. That's the key. It's from pattern. Dogs are very good at recognizing patterns. They're visual learners. They will recognize that pattern. This is what that hand gesture means. And when they do the command, they get the reward. It comes from that repetitive pattern. Then, once we have reliably reached the point where we can give our dog the hand signal, now we're going to work with the ears. This is when we're actually going to start giving them the command, sit. There's a lot of debate out there on this. You'll hear people say, not trying to steal anybody's phrases, but there's one approach where people say, don't name it till they know it. Other people will say, say it as they learn it. My opinion on the matter is this. If the dog does not know what the hand signal means, and you're just saying a word, they're not making a connection to it. You may say it over and over and over and over until eventually they catch on that, oh, hey, every time he's saying this, and he's doing this at the same time, that is the same principle as holding off on this until you got this, and then leading with this before that. When we say a lot of things over and over again, the dog is going to tune it out. Their ears are working all the time. They hear things at 4 times the distance that we can. So if we can hear something 20 feet away, the dog can hear it when it's 80 feet away. They can hear us talking on the phone, talking to each other, talking to mom or dad on Friday night, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, whatever. They know the sound of our voice and they know white noise. If it's not directed to them with a command that has been charged to mean something, they're going to zone it out. So if you got a piece of food in your hand and you're saying, sit, sit, the dog doesn't know what sit means. You're just bleeding that out until the point that you hope the dog learns it. Instead, I have found it much more effective to activate the nose, get the motion we want, give the reward, repeat it to create a pattern to where the hand gesture means something, and then say the word sit, followed by then the hand signal. That creates the pattern of learning of something new coming before something known. And the reason for that is dogs are very, very good at the learning pattern of this, then that. They are very good at connecting close together events into a specific pattern. They are very, very good at that. That is why clickers work. The primary marker for reward works. That is why you're able to tell your dog yes and tell your dog no, is because they have patterned this leads to that. So if you say yes, and then every time you say yes, the dog gets a treat, your dog is going to learn that this leads to that. And that whole principle is what we use in this entire learning procedure. The food coming up, the butt goes down, treat is given. Hand comes up, butt goes down, leads to treat. Sit, butt goes down, leads to treat. It is all this leads to that, this then that. And that is the basic foundational pattern for how a dog learns. Once you've managed that and once you've mastered that and understand that, you can begin to teach your dog anything. So I think that's a good point to wrap up. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for your time. Come back again. We'll have some more information out. Have a good day.